Conference, fellow members, Plaid Cymru supporters, those watching at home on television and Twitter, the passionate, the curious, the doubtful, this speech is for you. Ond hoffwn I ddechrau gyda gair bach I bawb sydd yma yn y Gynhadledd. Diolch. Diolch o galon I chi, aelodau Plaid Cymru, am y gefnogaeth dych chi wedi dangos I fi ers fi siarad gyda chi diwetha ac am eich gwaith caled i'r blaid ac I Gymru. Mae'r mudiad cenedlaethol ar gerdded unwaith eto, a chi, ym mhob ran o Gymru, sydd wedi adeiladu'r momentum newydd yma. Gall y momentum yma'n cario ni ymlaen dros y llinell derfyn I greu Llywodraeth Nesaf Gymru yn 2016. Nid sprint yw ras I drawsnewid Cymru, ond marathon, a dwi'n tanio'r gwn cychwyn yma heddiw. Rydw i'n siarad gyda chi heddi fel ferch gyntaf I arwain Plaid Cymru. Ond alla I ddim gadael hi fyna. Does dim gorffwys I fod, nes byddai'n siarad â chi fel prif weinidog cyntaf Plaid Cymru. Dyma ni felly yn Aberystwyth, tref arbennig iawn yn ein hanes ni dros y blynyddoedd. Yma, adeiladwyd Prifysgol Irwerin gyda 100,000 o gyfraniadau gwerth llai na chwron yr un. Ac yma hefyd, diolch I roddion pobl sefydlwyd yr ysgol cyfrwng Gymraeg gyntaf erioed. Dyma gartre llyfrgell genedlaethol Cymru sy'n gadw dogfennau o bwys yn hanes y genedl a dogfennau heddiw ar gyfer y dyfodol. Ac yma hefyd roedd cartre pencadlais cyntaf Plaid Cymru. Dyma dref wedi seilio ar werthoedd ein cenedl, cydweithredu ac uchelgais. Fyddes I Aberystwyth gyntaf pan o'n I yn y coleg, yn ystod etholiad 1992. Pan lwyddodd Cynog Dafis, un o'n meddylwyr mwyaf craff, I adeiladu clymblaid o genedlaetholwyr a gwirfion, siaradwyr Cymraeg a mewnfudwyr. Ac erbyn hyn, mae rhywun newydd am godi'r faner yn yr etholiaeth, George Borrow I Gymru heddiw ac aelod seneddol nesaf Ceredigion Mike Parker. Pob lwc I ti. Ac wrth gwrs, dyma lle ddywedon ni ffarwel olaf wrth Gwynfor, wrth edrych mas tua'r gorwel yr hen linell bell lle mae'r môr Celtaidd yn cyffwrdd a gweddill y byd. Oherwydd dydy ein gwleidyddiaeth ni, gwleidyddiaeth Gwynfor byth wedi bod yn genedlaetholdeb cul. Plaid Cymru's politics is an open, outward-looking, cooperative nationalism that embraces with equal dignity and respect all of our brothers and sisters on the face of the earth. It was here in Aberystwyth that one of the world's first branches of the League of Nations was created in 1919. As a nation, Wales has paid too high a price for militarism and the power politics of others, not to embrace peace and internationalism as values that define us to the core. Which is why I was proud to see Elfyn and Plaid Cymru's group at Westminster lead only a few weeks ago. by helping to craft a cross-party motion opposing the conservative and liberal drumbeat of war, we managed to avert what could have easily become a regional conflagration throughout the Middle East. Plaid Cymru and the SNP's combined votes were, in that moment, the difference between peace and war. The ripples that we have created have spread around the world, from Washington to Tehran. Violence only begets violence, and we have seen this truth repeat itself over the last decade. Elfyn Llwyd, through his persistent, dogged advocacy on behalf of veterans abandoned by successive governments, understands only too well the human cost of war. That is why Plaid Cymru has never been a party of war. The Party of Wales is always the party of peace. It's great to be able to stand here before you today with success, a year of positive progress. Just this week, Plaid Cymru has announced its joint budget deal with the Liberal Democrats and the Welsh Government on its budget. Through this deal, we've jointly secured £100 million for a package of measures delivering for those who are losing out most from this recession. Our close-to-home care package is a menu of convalescence measures designed to help people quickly recover outside hospital, helping to unblock beds and get people treatment quicker in our health service. This will be the start of building a new system, a joint health and social intermediary care service. The package includes the provision of 3 new robotic arms to treat prostate cancer. People with cancer are currently forced to travel over the border and pay in the region of £15,000 privately because the service is not currently available in Wales. Local authorities will be encouraged to work with the health service in the interests of better, quicker services to people and reducing waiting times. Directly challenging deprivation by providing help for the Supporting People budget, which funds projects for the most vulnerable, domestic abuse survivors, people with mental health problems, homeless people. And by delivering a grant worth £918 for every child entitled to free school meals. For the second year running, the Party of Wales is playing its right and proper role within a minority administration, and we are delivering on those priorities of those people who are struggling in our communities. Was meant to be an election-free zone. It was in most places, but not on Ynys Môn. The Party of Wales has had not one, but 2 famous victories on Ynys Môn this year. We laid down the foundations, coming first in May's County Council elections. And in August, not only did we win the by-election emphatically in Caerphilly, but also we elected in advance the first new member of the new intake of 2016 that will be the governing Party of Wales. Trina Bora, the new Plaid Cymru Assembly member, and his home. Some said that under my leadership, Plaid Cymru couldn't win in the north. Well, this year has proven them wrong, and that is just for starters, because we've put in place our candidates for the National Assembly election in constituencies the length and breadth of Wales. Choose early, win often. We can now see the beginnings of the team that will not only win an election, but more than that, a team with the skills and the ideas and the passion that is needed to change a country. Tristan Lewis, Sian Gwenllian, Adam Price, Lynn Ackerman, David Tristan, Carrie Harper. There's too much talent there to name them all, but what we have in the Plaid Cymru team is a force for Wales which is gathering momentum throughout the nation. When we look at the Senedd, we should see the breadth of our nation's brightest and best. We should be proud to show visitors around the viewing hall, to hear debates that ring out with the finest Welsh rhetoric and peerless Welsh passion. The poverty of our politics in Wales at the moment is a national embarrassment. A First Minister refusing to answer direct questions. Government ministers refusing interviews. Yes, refusing to be scrutinised by the media. The farce of ministers holding up placards against their own policies. Makes us a laughing stock, but that, my friends, is something that can change. It must change, and it will change with a change of generation. This country so badly needs fresh thinking. Instead, we've ended up with the same old stale ideas of yesterday. Politics that is so locked in the past, the Senedd sometimes feels that it should be shipped, pane by pane, to St. Fagan's Museum. That must change, and it will change with different leadership. Wales now needs substance. We now need someone who is serious about getting to grips with the things that are holding us back, not just since the recession began in 2008, but for generations. So there is one message that I want to ring out loud and clear from this stage to every home in every community in Wales, and it's this. Plaid Cymru's goal is simple. We are committed to leading the next government of Wales so that we can build Wales up, so that we can turn around the economic situation, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet, so that Wales has a government that always, without fail, puts Wales first. We know that Wales is better than this. And yes, our dream is one day to see an independent Wales. Not independence for its own sake, but so that we can be the nation that we want to be. Votes for 16-year-olds has been in the news recently, and it's good to see the others catch up. It's been a long-standing Plaid Cymru policy and indeed a policy of the SNP's. But the sobering fact when considering votes at 16 in Wales is this. There are young people of 16 years of age now who will be voting at the next Assembly election who have lived their entire lives with just one party in power. What has 16 unbroken years of Labour control of health, of education, and our economic future done for them? 23% of our population, almost 1 in 4, are below the official EU at-risk threshold for poverty. 8 points higher than Ireland, with all the problems that they've had to contend with. Higher even than Greece in the grip of the crisis. Even Romania, which, if you believe that tabloid press is packed full of economic refugees, has fewer people below the poverty line, according to the EU, than Wales. And here is the saddest fact of all. If you take the latest figures available for every country, then Wales has the highest poverty rate of any country in the entire European Union. That is the legacy of a decade and a half of the same party in power. Wales, the poverty capital of Europe, bottom of the UK's economic league table, and second from the bottom in Western Europe. For shame. In health, Wales has the lowest numbers of physicians per population of all 4 countries in the United Kingdom. We are 25th in the European Union for doctors per head, just above Romania and Poland. No wonder Labour's MP for the Cynon Valley is so angry and ashamed of her own party that she tells them that Aneurin Bevan is spinning in his grave. Health is fully devolved, of course, as is education, which isn't doing too well either. 250 years ago, Griffith Jones's circulating schools taught a whole nation, 150,000 of them, to read. Wales became almost overnight in Europe the most literate nation. Catherine the Great sent education inspectors to Wales from Russia to learn from our example. How did we go from there to now, where we ask the OECD to come and tell us where we're going wrong? Wales is ranked 38th in the world for reading and 40th for maths, the worst result within the UK and one of the worst in Europe. And we've been slipping further and further behind. The extent of our decline would be even clearer if the Welsh Government hadn't refused to participate in the PISA study until 2006. And, unlike England, we still refuse to join the other major international comparative studies. Such is the arrogance and complacency at the heart of this government. If the parents of our children, and I'm one, were to mark the Government of Wales on their performance with regards to education, the result would undoubtedly be a big fail. Rumour has it that the former Education Minister is going to write a book about the failures of the Welsh education system. Welcome to the weird world of Welsh politics. They are masters of the absurd. An Education Minister who complains about the failing standards under his own party's government. An Education Minister who campaigns against his own ministerial policies. You couldn't make it up. Labour MPs and Assembly members, government ministers even, are today campaigning against closures and cuts in the health service that are happening on their own party's watch. They must think people are daft. A former Labour Energy Secretary complaining about the system of energy regulation that his own party put in place. This is double standards, it's hypocrisy. This is the opposite of taking responsibility. It's taking people for fools. No wonder trust in politics is at an all-time low. What's happened with targets doesn't help. Unfavourable targets in health look set to be dropped. Labour has a PISA target for Wales for 2016, but few think it can be met in private. I hope that they're wrong, and I hope too that it will not suffer the same fate as the target to close the gap in GDP to 90% of the UK average. Do you remember that goal? Another one for Labour's graveyard of ambition. The so-called party of the working people is a different beast to the one that it once was. The Labour Party of 1945, confronted by profiteering in the railways, in energy, in the broadband network, would declare their intention to bring these vital elements of public infrastructure into public ownership. The market is failing people. Instead, they offer a temporary freeze on the current level of unfairness. It's better than nothing, but it's not enough, and it's not a lasting solution. Surely, if all competition brings us is energy companies colluding to fix prices and profits, what is the point? The profits of the big 6 energy companies have gone up by 73% in the last 3 years. Yesterday, we heard of yet more price hikes for long-suffering households. People in Wales pay more for their electricity than customers in England and Scotland. How is that fair? It isn't. Our country produces more electricity than it uses, but we are powerless. Wales does not have the control over our own energy resources. Those decisions are made at Westminster. But the whole system is wrong, forcing those who can't afford to pay for their electricity to pay the most through prepayment and credit up front. If markets are failing the public, then it's time the public took back the market. What we need for the energy market in Wales is what we did when the privatisation of Welsh Water failed. Dŵr Cymru was set up as a not-for-dividend company. It has reinvested its profits, keeping customer bills down. People have even been known to have water bill rebates. It has been a successful model, and that is why we are calling for the establishment of a non-profit Glas Cymru-style entity, Ynni Cymru Energy Wales. Ynni Cymru Energy Wales would buy gas and electricity at wholesale prices and then sell direct to all Welsh customers and businesses. This could be set up by the government as an arm's-length company. Surpluses will be split between protecting customers from volatile wholesale prices and an expansion of energy efficiency measures. To preserve and grow jobs in the energy sector, especially in renewable energy, we must build and plan for the long term. Plaid Cymru's energy plan will do just that. When Labour's energy freeze begins to thaw and prices begin to spike again, Plaid Cymru would have enabled the building of our cheaper, permanent, people-powered Welsh alternative. But we also need to deal with energy prices now. Too many in fuel poverty can't afford to wait until 2015. Cutting VAT on energy would save each household £60 each in the next year, and it should be done now before the winter freeze sets in. Our support for all those who are struggling financially can't end there. Due to the failure of successive governments to build sufficient council housing and cool the housing market, many young people in particular are forced to rent from private landlords well into their 20s and their 30s. This is generation rent. There are 190,000 households renting in Wales. 14% of all households are in the private rented sector. Even during this long recession, rent rises have continued to outstrip inflation. In Wales, over the last year, rent has on average risen by 5%, well above the UK average. This is completely unsustainable. I am therefore announcing our intention today to reintroduce rent control for the private rented sector during the next Assembly. The Party of Wales wants to see living wages for Welsh workers, but we also have to see living rents that do not eat up a family's entire disposable income, because people have a right to a decent home at an affordable price. And we will want to see concerted action to end the housing crisis here in rural Wales. We want to see strong and healthy Welsh-speaking communities. We will strengthen the planning guidance for local authorities so that they must consider the impact of new developments upon the Welsh language. For far too long, we've seen house prices spiral way out of the reach of local people. Plaid Cymru will introduce legislation which will give power to local authorities to introduce controls on second homes in designated areas of Wales in order to relieve the external pressure on the housing market. We will also seek We will also seek to end the policy of using Wales as a cheap source of housing for unwanted benefit claimants of affluent areas in England. Plaid Cymru will require local authorities and registered social landlords to give clear priority to people with genuine local connections. We should not stand silent and accept this social engineering. It is not fair on anybody to send people without work to places where there are few jobs. We cannot allow London and the affluent southeast of England to export its poverty and its problems to Wales when we have so many of our own that we need to address. So, what will Plaid Cymru do? So what will Plaid Cymru do to address those problems? Chiefly, it's about the economy. Some of you may have heard me talk before about our Plan C and our green print, and how we can create 50,000 jobs in Wales through better procurement. Some of those jobs can come through our SME sector, our small, medium-sized businesses, which are the bedrock of the Welsh economy. Those businesses have had it very hard during this recession. 500,000 people work in SMEs. Those jobs deserve our support. That is why a Plaid Cymru government will build on the work of Leanne Wyn-Jones and our business rates pledge from 2007. We will cut business rates for businesses with a rateable value of less than £15,000 a year. This will help 83,000 businesses, 73,000 of which will pay no business rates at all, securing the future of tens of thousands of jobs in Wales. And of course, young people need help too. The number of young people not in education, training, or employment for more than a year has quadrupled in the past 2 years. Those young people don't need a scheme, they need a future. They don't need to be threatened with having their benefits cut. They need a job. And that is why Plaid Cymru will fight for the youth employment guarantee that's available from some parts of the European Union to be available in Wales as well. This will build on the Plaid Cymru Assembly budget deal from last year on apprenticeships, and we will continue to work with SMEs to create new and real work opportunities for the youth of Wales. We need urgent action on health too. We have a crisis of obesity and diabetes that is killing us as a nation. And yet these chronic diseases are chronically underfunded in a Welsh NHS in crisis. We need action at all levels. We must change consumption patterns if we are to stop the obesity epidemic, as well as boost resources for healthcare. So the Welsh Government that I will lead will introduce a sugary drinks levy of up to 20p per litre. We will employ 1,000 more doctors with the monies raised, bringing Wales up to the UK average and reducing the need to take services further away from people. This is Plaid Cymru's alternative to hospital centralisation. We are told that hospital services have to be closed because there aren't enough doctors. We know as well how people feel about their local services. More than 50,000 people have responded to the South Wales programme consultation. They are worried that they will be left without an A&E, that they will be left without local maternity services. They worry that the ambulances won't get to them in time. We will provide more doctors so that those services can stay open and stay safe. If 1,000 more doctors sounds overambitious, just consider this. With them, Wales would only be brought up to the UK average. So we must have those extra doctors. And a Plaid Cymru government will deliver them. We will deliver a better NHS. We will deliver a better NHS. We will deliver a more efficient NHS with better integrated services between hospitals and social care to get patients out of hospital and back into their own home. And that is why we fought so hard for that close-to-home healthcare package in the budget. The first time we've done this in Wales, integrated healthcare, Da Vinci robots, telemedicine, better technology, better use of technology. Why have files and files of papers in the wrong hospital when doctors can have that information at their fingertips? Plaid Cymru want people to have care close to home, close to their community, not centralised far away from their home and their family. That is why our 1,000 extra doctors will make a difference, and we put the people of Wales first. More doctors in Wales. 1,000 more doctors looking after our health when we need it. Next year, 2014, is the year of the European elections. It's also a year in which we remember the travails of Europe's past. 100 years ago, since the beginning of the war that was meant to end all wars. The difference between Europe then and Europe now is that those countries that were battlefields, Germany, France and Belgium, formed a new partnership. We must never allow the countries of Europe to be in conflict again. That is why Plaid Cymru says yes to Europe and no to isolationism. Not to say we sign up to all aspects of the European Union in its current form. We want to see people much more at the heart of what the EU does. We want to see more cooperation, we want to see more redistribution, and we want Wales to be on a level playing field so that we're not reliant on handouts, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet. And there's no reason why we can't. Let us reflect on the 100 years since 1914. Of course, it wasn't just on the battlefield that the obscene rush to war left its mark on Wales. Preparations for war fueled the demand for coal. Coal output in Wales reached its historic peak in 1913. We became an economy almost solely dependent upon one industry. It ravaged our landscape and the lands of our men. It killed them in their thousands, every bit as cruelly as war. My forefathers among them. Yesterday we heard the awful news that Unity Mine in Neath has gone into administration. Our sympathies go to all those affected. Cruelly, it comes on an anniversary. 100 years ago on Monday, 439 miners were killed at the Universal Colliery in Llanelli, near Caerphilly, in what remains one of the world's worst ever mining disasters. I say disaster, but there was nothing natural about it. It was an industrial accident at an industrial scale, an inevitable result of deliberate neglect. A cruel symbol of an economic system that operated with machine-like indifference to human life. There are memorials to mining accidents and victims of war in almost every village of Wales. Well, I want us now to build a living memorial, a better future for us and for our children in honour of the future that those men and their families never had. lives were lost on Flanders fields to allow the dream of European cooperation to wither. And we've lost too many lives through coal and to methane to allow another dash for gas. Our investment and our effort has to go into clean, safe industries now. The land of Wales is scarred and bruised. While the technology is untested and the harm to the environment is unknown, we cannot allow a tiny inch of our land to be fracked beneath our feet. And we will fight for the power to keep our country safe and green. To be conservative is meant to be about conserving, about honouring tradition and the values and sacrifices of the past. And yet here are the Conservatives privatising the Royal Mail, which has been in unbroken public ownership since 1635. There is a plaque in Aberystwyth Post Office to the 7 local postal workers who died in the First World War. There is some bitter irony in the service that they joined being sold for a pittance by a Conservative and Liberal coalition in the months before a centenary of a war fought by that same coalition. The Wales that we want to create will be operated by a fairly fundamental principle, that services run for the benefit of people can only be properly managed in the interests of the people. If you believe in that future, then whichever way you have voted in the past, your home is here with us. And next year's European election is a good place to endorse such a principle. Ahead of that election, we say this: European cooperation, yes, but of course we are not fighting for the decentralisation of power only to see that re-centralised at a European level. The Europe that Plaid Cymru has always wanted is a Europe of the peoples, decentralised and free. I have personally been very sceptical about the Eurozone because of its undemocratic nature, its deflationary tendencies, its failure to put people at its heart, and history has sadly proven those reservations right. The unaccountable troika of European Commission, European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund that are running Europe's economic policy must be replaced by a democratic Europe and a new, truly ambitious plan for recovery and renewal. Plaid Cymru wants Wales to work with other nations to empower a proper European Parliament and to balance that power through a Senate of nations and regions representing national and regional parliaments. Because Europe works best not as a single supertanker, but as a flotilla of small boats, cooperative, friendly and free. To get from here to there, we need some new leadership for Europe and for Wales. And I will say this: never underestimate a woman from the Rhondda. And with Plaid Cymru, it's a 2-for-1 deal. Just as I have my team in the next Government of Wales, let's return Jill Evans and her team next May to continue to promote the Welsh national interest. The only Welsh MEP who can claim to have consistently and persistently put Wales first at every possible opportunity. So why is it important to put Wales first? Because we are fed up of seeing Wales last, at the bottom of the league, We can do so much better than this. Do you, like me, want to see a new decade of change begin in 2016? If you do, it is you, the people of Wales, who have to play your part. Come with us. Work with us. Give us the tools and give us the chance to prove what we, all of us, collectively can do. In return, we will do whatever it takes to turn around this government's failings. It's my ambition over the 2 terms of a Plaid Cymru-led government to take this country from where we are now, near the bottom of every performance league table in Europe, UK to mention, to the top 10 in income per capita, in literacy and in maths. The same goes for the number of doctors in our NHS. Plaid Cymru wants to take Wales from the bottom to the top, because putting Wales first for us is not just a statement of our priorities, it's a statement of our ambition. And it's now time to turn that historic ambition into this, our new reality. Diolch yn fawr.